Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Kevin, for being here. We're going to wait a minute for people to start coming in. And before we get started, a couple quick things to note. So you can ask any questions, you can add comments in the chat. The StartEngine team is going to be going through that chat throughout the entire event and answering as many questions as possible. And if you're watching this today and you're thinking, these are some amazing startups, I wish I could invest in these, or I wish I could invest in startups like these, you can go to StartEngine.com. We have hundreds of startups raising capital today, and you can invest for as little as $100. Also, if you know any founders that are looking to raise money, you can actually refer those companies to StartEngine. And if they end up signing with StartEngine, you get $5,000. This is a huge growing community. We call them our StartEngine scouts. We have thousands, and we've paid over $200,000 to our StartEngine scouts. So join if you are connected at all to startups. It's just a really amazing way to help founders. So I think let's kick it off. I am Johanna Cronin. I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at StartEngine, and I have with me StartEngine Strategic Advisor and Investor, Kevin O'Leary.
Great to be here. Looking forward to the next pitches.
Yeah, this is our 5th pitch competition. So we've been doing this a little bit over a year. I think we started it immediately when the pandemic began. And we really host this every quarter as a way to get companies access to our community, as well as pitching in front of Kevin. The one thing is we have thousands of companies every single time, and we only get to choose 5 for each round. So Kevin, you've been doing this for a while with me now. What do you feel like has changed with the entrepreneurs and with investing since we started?
I think what's interesting is the size of the deals and the diversity of the multi-sectoral offerings. Because remember, we have 11 sectors of the S&P. They're pretty well represented here. And I think the reason that's happening is slowly but surely equity crowdfunding is being adopted as a strategy for growing companies. It has a lot of benefits. People are starting to realize what they are, particularly aligning the interests of the founders, the customers, all shareholders being treated equally. That's very useful. And, while it was very early on, just over a year ago, 2 years ago, now it's becoming probably the fastest growing source of capital for startups. And so we celebrate that here at StartEngine. We're the leader in it, effectively. And the deals reflect that. And I think, you can talk to the founders about why this works, and we'll see more deals and we'll continue to grow. I'm just impressed with the kind of companies we've been seeing on these pitch competitions. So I'm pretty interested to see what comes next. And remember, I do not see these. This is almost like the real Shark Tank. I don't see anything. So you're pitching me for the first time. Don't screw it up.
Great advice from Kevin. And also, so Kevin is going to be choosing the first place winner, but everyone else here is going to be choosing the crowd favorite. So that is in true StartEngine fashion. We want to give a voice to the crowd. So you guys can think of yourselves as your own personal sharks, getting to ask questions in the chat. And then of course, on all of the StartEngine campaign pages, you can ask questions to every single founder. So for anyone who is new to StartEngine and is just hearing about us for the first time, as Kevin mentioned, we're the largest equity crowdfunding site in the US. We have a community of over 600,000 investors and users, and it's growing just insanely every single day. What we aim to do is enable public access to private investments. So that means that you can invest in everything from startups, as you're going to see today, to real estate, collectibles, even fine wine. So really, you name it, we have a huge variety of investment opportunities all on the same site. So let's kick it off. We have a packed schedule, and we have 5 amazing entrepreneurs that are going to be presenting. Here is how it's going to work. So 5 companies, every company gets 2 minutes to pitch, 3 minutes to answer questions from Kevin. Afterwards, Kevin will choose the first place winner that is going to get $25,000, a one-on-one with StartEngine's own CEO and co-founder of Activision Games, Howard Marks. Amazing prizes from our partners, Plug and Play, Brex, and TriNet. And the second prize is going to go to the crowd favorite. So everyone watching will have the chance to vote, and that company will get $5,000. So let's begin with our first company, Predictive. Sarjan, please unmute your mic and turn on your camera. Sarjan is the CEO of Predictive. He is a serial entrepreneur, scientist, and adjunct professor at Johns Hopkins University in bioinformatics. Please welcome Sarjan.
Thank you. It's very honored to be here. Nowadays, when you want to know something, we Google everything. So basically, we can Google everything, isn't it? DNA is the blueprint for the health. But can you Google your own DNA? As we No, as we cannot Google search our own DNA, we are not utilizing our health information that is the blueprint of the health to predict and prevent serious diseases that blueprint is pointing toward to. I'm Sajung, CEO of Predictive. I'm an adjunct professor teaching genomics at Johns Hopkins University for the last 11 semesters. So Mr. Wonderful, please imagine a digital avatar that looks just like you and has all your DNA information in it and with the health information. So in 5 years from now, there will be two types of patients. One with a digital twin, another without the digital twin. So if you have the digital twin, we will simulate your digital twin before taking any drugs and then check for the side effects before. But if you don't have digital twins, then physician will tell you this drug could cause this serious side effect, possibly life-threatening. So if you experience that, please come to the tell me, and I will change it for you. So what we are trying to do is to change the standard of care in the United States to go through the digital twin simulation before taking any clinical action. So how do we do this? So we do this by analyzing 22,000 genes from all the genes humans have, and cross-reference to 22,500 diseases. And we build an easy-to-use, searchable, real-time database, digital twin platform. We are the next generation of the 23andMe that instead of checking a couple of hundred genes and diseases, we are checking 20,000 genes over 22,000 diseases. It's very easy to do it. All we need is your fingernail clippings, and we melt it and we extract the DNA from it, and then we build a digital twin. It's all automatized, and then we deliver through the genetic counseling through our partners. So we get the digital twin file and then need to process with bioinformatics. So my identical twin brother is a co-founder, and he trained thousands of postdocs at NIH for next generation sequencing. And then I'm a genomics expert, and then we have a MD physician with a bioinformatics training from Hopkins, and we have a successful serial entrepreneur with 2 successful record exits. So we raised $1.2 million from Tim Draper and Plug and Play Ventures and Republic. We have 1,500 investors supporting us. And then without any marketing campaign, we already sold 250 orders and pre-orders. And we signed the deals covering 200 hospitals and clinics and 3,300 physicians. Thank you.
All right, that's fascinating. A couple of questions right out of the gate. How are you getting around HIPAA? Is there a problem about client information here?
For our client, they own their own DNA, and then we are not selling our data to other people, and they control to send their digital twin to physicians of their choice.
How are you acquiring customers? One of the greatest challenges that we found in DNA testing, 23andMe, for example, is customer acquisition, the cost of acquiring a customer versus the lifetime value of the customer. What do you think your model looks like there?
Yeah, B2B, we are partnering with telemedicine. They have a problem with the churn rate. So DNA analysis protect that. And B2G, as a professor of genomics, I'm part of the national level genomics project. So B2G and also B2H hospitals, we are providing this to the hospitals, is like executive physicals.
So currently, if I want to get a really deep study of my DNA, I probably have to send it to Dante in Italy. It's about $63,000. Takes about 6 months. What's different about what you're doing? Are you doing a subset of that amount of analysis?
No, we are actually superior than that. We use the whole genome, whole exome and whole genome sequencing. We analyze the entire thing and cross-reference we put it into the reference genome, and then we tell you all the mutations, cross-reference to all the peer-reviewed literature. So yeah.
And how, when you give me predictive information, let's say you say I'm predisposed to diabetes, what percentage certainty would that be?
Yeah, please think of like a weather forecast. So when you have a weather forecast, we cannot prevent the rain, but we can prevent people getting wet. So likewise, we are not predicting how many percent you have. That's up to the genetic counselors and meteorologists. Like we provide like pressure, those humidity information. Likewise, you have relevant health information to the physicians, and they make the call. So we are not predicting what percentage, but we are providing the most relevant genetic information in real time.
How much do I pay for the test?
$790.
700?
Yeah, $790. And we automatize everything. That's right.
So do you think that's going to be prohibitive for the consumer, or this is going to be mostly used by B2B?
It's mostly used by B2B. Also, we are exploring microarray options to lower the cost up to the $250 level.
Can you give us any forecast of what you think you'll do in the first, second, third year in terms of sales?
First year, we are expecting to $400 sales and then expecting $300,000 of revenue and by end of this year. And next year, we are expecting to sell the 5,000 digital twins and 6 million. And then next year, we are expecting to 60,000 and then about $60 million of the revenue expected.
And who would you consider your number one competitor right now?
23andMe and Invitae are very capable companies, and then the difference is that we made it's like a Yahoo and Google. Yahoo, you had to register your website and then classify it, but Google index everything and then provide the relevant information. So our technology is initially very different.
All right. Lastly, what was your last valuation that you took in money at?
We used 5.5 million valuation, and we raised $800,000 from the Republic.
Cool. Thank you very much. Extremely interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sergeant. That was awesome. So our next company is RThreat. Hugo, please unmute your mic and turn on your camera. Hugo Sanchez is the CEO of RThreat. He is on a mission to revolutionize the cybersecurity industry and help protect his clients from threats, both known and unknown. Okay, please welcome Hugo.
Thank you, Joanna. Hey, good to meet you, Kevin. And Kevin, I want to tell you a quick story, okay? Hope this is it's a Good Friday story. I hope you enjoy it. Well, it's 7 a.m. Richard, the CEO of a large enterprise, received a call from the cybersecurity director. Come to the office now. We have a problem. Richard is told their company has been found victim of a ransomware attack and their data is being held hostage. Man, Richard, they're demanding we pay $10 million in Bitcoin or our data will be sold in the dark web. Richard's mind starts to race. What happened to my business? If my customers' data is leaked, will I face a lawsuit? Will my customers and partners ever trust me again? Every 11 seconds, a company somewhere around the world falls victim to a cyber attack. What happens to Richard happens to thousands of other business owners. Richard wished he could do something different, right? He assumed purchasing security software and hiring security staff would have been enough. What was he missing? Enter RThreat. We are a zero trust validation platform that challenges your cybersecurity defenses with real world and custom threats. Think of RThreat as your live fire drill for cyber attacks. Our platform enables you to identify security gaps, optimize solutions, so you can truly validate the effectiveness of your cybersecurity, but most importantly, of your staff. So you don't end up like Richard. Our approach to continuous security validations allow business and leaders to finally answer the question, are we secure? If you want to protect yourself, you have to think like an attacker. We've been taking the defensive approach, so it's time to change something here. So if you're going to protect from attackers, you have to have a team of attackers. Jesus Garcia has been an ethical hacker for over 20 years. Jesus is my co-founder and CTO of the technology. Jesus and our team of developers understand the real techniques that hackers use to infiltrate networks. So you don't wait till the bad guys to strike first. Instead, take an approach to your cybersecurity. So we have 4 different channels of on our go-to-market. So we'll go straight direct to customers, channel partners, technology partners, and training programs. RThreat provides a cost-effective and on-demand and automate capability so companies can easily implement real continuous security validation and remediation before the bad guys start. Companies that are still here have prioritized in innovation. Why? They invested and bought companies that are developing new technology. If you don't invest in new technology and keep with the innovation, you will be left behind. We have an idea that can be bought and incorporated to other products. Our format channels will help and enable different industries, different verticals, different sizes. Our executive and advisors have decades of experience in working in the security space. As for now, our current revenue is 110K ARR, but our projected revenue for the end of the year is 1.2 million. Our goal is to make a profit starting 2022, and we hope to reach a growth of 38.7 million in 5 years. So we currently have 19 full-time employees, 4 time-time employees, and our pipeline is growing organically. Currently we're sitting at 4.5 for 2022, and it's a mix of global MSSPs and enterprises. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any additional questions.
Okay, so walk me through the use case. Let's say I'm a medium-sized enterprise. Obviously, I've already got a security system in place that I'm probably getting from, one of the providers. This is a very large industry. There's lots of providers. Am I buying this to test the existing contract I have right now? And
Correct.
I'm doing it without the knowledge of the provider that I have licensed? Because
Correct.
I have a chief technology officer that is obviously working with my contract provider. Is this me policing that relationship? Where does that fit?
Again, it's continuous validation, right? So we can challenge, or we're here to validate that your security posture is that it's working the way it's supposed to. So you enable teams with tools, right? You buying contracts, you have SLAs. How do you challenge those SLAs? There's no way you can challenge those SLAs, right? You can like validation is pen testing and other systems that they're compliance validation, right? You want to check box your compliance is sure, but you want to really truly get that ROI on your next generation tools. People are investing tons and tons of money. So to your question is yes, this is to validate that your vendors are giving you what you're paying for.
So why wouldn't, let's say let's pick one, CrowdStrike. Let's say I had a multi-million-dollar contract. I'm a large enterprise. I'm using CrowdStrike. Wouldn't they be doing this for me already? Wouldn't they constantly be testing their own thesis about my security? And why would I need you if
it goes down to the supply chain attack, right? Supply chain attack today is one of the most common ones. SolarWinds, Kaseya, you talk about FireEye and all the other vendors, right? That you thought they were security vendors, then you'd rely on them, thinking they're okay. But that's not a proactive approach. You have your assets are yours. You invested so much money, so much time in your company that it only takes one attack that you can take you under.
No, I agree with that. So basically, I should think of you as insurance, because I'm going to have some form of security. I'm buying you and paying you. I suppose this is do I one-time charge, or is this a?
It's a SaaS model. So we created a very low entry point, so SMBs can benefit from it, and managed security service providers will. It's a multi-tenant solution that they can deploy among their customers. So all of a sudden you can enable and validate every day if you want, every month, depending on your business continuity plan. You can align this and a la carte decide, I want to test my infrastructure with ransomware. So we provide the latest and greatest, well, not latest and greatest, but the latest trends of ransomware. So we have a dedicated team researching the deep and dark web to create this malware. So within 24 hours, and this is an SLA, 24 hours, we provide what happened what hit the industry and put it on your library so you can test with that. And then you can challenge the vendors, any vendor, no matter how expensive it is, you should be able to see if it's stopping what happened yesterday, right?
And do you provide the reporting system or a dashboard that I can send to my vendor saying, look, I'm using our threat now on top of the security you're providing us.
Absolutely.
We found these weaknesses, and and you can talk to them directly if you wish. Is that something you provide? I mean, obviously, if I find something weak in the chain, I want to send it to my guys who I have a contract with, because I have a contract, and in many cases I can't just break it. So you're going to work with them. Is that how it works?
That's one of the big use cases, right? A lot of enterprises have legacy contracts that they cannot get out of. But our thread, it becomes an extension of your team, right? We help you validating that what you purchased or the previous CISO security officer bought is working. If it's not, you can go back to the vendor saying like, listen, I've been running these tests.
Do you anticipate always working in a symbiotic fashion like that, or is our threat eventually going to provide the full service? So I say, look, our threat, I've just broke my contract. It's over. The 90 days period is now in the shop period. I want you to take it all over because I think what you're doing is so great. Is that going to happen or not?
We're not a defense solution. We're not. We're an attack solution to validate. It's continuous validation based on the zero trust framework that President Biden just released an executive order inquiry. I mean, in pushing that every single enterprise will take this zero trust framework, or it's an ideological framework that you have to do. The never trust is zero trust, right? But we're never going to be, or we rely on our service providers to provide this and try to give a new architecture, suggest vendors. Like, again, we're not a defense solution. There are 4,800 vendors today doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
So why do we create another
Hugo,
vendor?
can you give me a sense of what percentage increase I should think of to buy this insurance, the our threat insurance? I'm going to call it our threat insurance because that's, to me, that's what it looks like. What if I'm paying $1 million a year? How much am I paying? I mean, do you look at the scale of what I'm paying for already with the different providers and price accordingly?
Mm-hmm.
What percentage increase would you charge
for our services?
Yeah.
No, we're not gonna. This is a very low entry point. So
how
from
much?
that,
give me an idea. What does it cost to buy a contract?
5% of that.
5%. Okay, so I should look. So for it's a 5% insurance on what I'm already paying for, basically.
But that's a great point, Kevin. That you can use that to help you validate that the insurance for your insurance, cybersecurity insurance is going up. Ransomware attack as a service created a huge monster, right? Right now, we can help SMBs before you sign your insurance policy. It's like, listen, I'm going to run an attack, and the insurance companies will use this to validate. Like, I'm going to run an attack ransomware, and I'm going to give you where you at. Then, if you want to get the premiums down, here it is. You just go to your MSSP and change something. Next time you come up, I'll send the same attack, and you should stop everything, right? You stop.
These kinds of services really work when I can call existing customers and get testimonials about what their experiences were. If I called you have very few customers so far because you're a startup, I get it. But what would you say your star rating would be if I talked to 5 of them?
Well, our conversion rate from proof of concept to actual customers is pretty high. We're seeing 80%, and they'll be very happy because we're helping in different multiple use cases. And out of our 8 customers, 5 are fintech and large banks in the Americas. 2 are in the US, large Fortune 100 companies. So if you call them, sure, they can give you the list of use cases they're using our threat for. Training, validation.
Last question, Kevin.
Okay, then tell me about your deal. How much money are you trying to raise? What valuation at?
We're raising a seed round, $4 million.
What valuation?
Still TBD. I'm working on.
Going to be a convertible note?
And no, we're trying to do price.
Okay. Very impressive, Hugo. Very impressive. I like to be a little critical sometimes, but this makes a lot of sense to me. I think I would be buying insurance if I could, if this really worked. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pleasure being here. Good to meet you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you, Hugo. I think, Kevin, you just rebranded a company as Our Threat Insurance in the middle of the presentation.
Yeah. Get a royalty for that, Joanna. I want a royalty.
We'll mention that to him at the end. Okay, so our next company is NISA. Eden, please unmute your mic and turn on your camera. Eden Lauren is the CEO and co-founder of NISA. She is a Division I champion, won a James Beard Award, and is proud to lead NISA with revolutionizing the well-being space for generations to come. Please welcome Eden.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon for some. My name is Eden, CEO of NISA. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for this opportunity. For centuries, women have suffered in silence through life's most transformational stages. There are 160 million women in the US alone that are post-pubescent. And though 4 million will give birth annually, 1 in 4 suffers from fibroids or cysts. 1 in 5 suffers from endometriosis and chronic pain. All of us will go through perimenopause and menopause, and up to 85% of us will experience menstrual pain. And that's for an average of 30 years or more. Yet women are left to DIY hack. We're made to deal with our discomfort. There's a dramatic gap in innovation for women, and most designs don't even consider our bodies. We also have the worst mother mortality rate of all the developed countries. Let's take an example. There's very few items that are made for women. One is the ubiquitous mesh underpant. If anyone's given birth in the US, you might have received this from a birthing center. It's not absorbent, it's disposable, it's one size fits all, it doesn't function, and it hasn't been innovated on in over 70 years. NISA has identified 20 unmet needs from puberty through to after menopause. We refer to these hushed realities, these things we don't talk about, as the unmentionables. And our mission is to solve to these unmentionables of womanhood through innovative design that we pair with content, conversation, and resources. So we took that silly mesh underwear and we tossed it. We created fourth wear recovery underwear. It has 2 patents. It is the first undergarment ever that holds ice or heat anywhere in the garment. It's made from post-consumer recyclables, it's eco-friendly, and we've sold over 15,000 pairs to date and had an incredible reception when we entered the market. We paired it with several other items to round out a postpartum portfolio. So we created the first ice heat pack that's the shape of a woman's seat. We partnered with a cryotherapist for the first uterine heat pack. And then this year, we stepped outside of the postpartum conversation to meet women in other unmentionables and more stages of discomfort. We released patented V-Vision between the legs mirror. This is the first ever mirror that rests between the thighs. 78% of the women in the US have never seen their vulva. We believe that if we have the tools and the resources to see all of our body, then we could be empowered to self-advocate. We launched with an exclusive in the mirror with MoMA Design. We've been included in countless exhibits just this year alone, including the Mutter Museum, who called V-Vision one of the most influential innovations for women in the last 100 years. We have a partnership with Goop. We've been tagged by Forbes, called Genius by Nylon. And CVS, who's been around for a long time, had never had a women's well-being section before. We pushed them, and we are now launched in 1,100 of their stores. We have direct-to-consumer sales of just under $350,000 year to date. We have a blended gross margin of 65%, which continues to get better as we scale. Our AOV is $100 and keeps going up. And we will end this year with 15 products in market. So that's spanning on the premium side for wear and accessible care items. We're raising $2.5 million to grow our marketing budgets because we have growing segments that we're speaking to. We want to release our next 2 unmentionables or innovations for our unmentionables for next year, expand our team with top tier talent, and then launch our subscription model. We are not just selling products. NISA is creating an impactful, holistic ecosystem of innovation, education, and advocacy. Throughout womanhood, throughout our lives, we're going to be offering consumers community, research-backed information, and empathy-driven design. So this is an ambitious statement, but please join us in changing the world. Thank you.
That's very interesting. I love this idea of unmentionables. I mean, that's marketing, pure marketing, no question about it, because I really want to know what the next unmentionable is, no question. Now, let's talk a little bit about the product mix. Mirrors and wearables are completely 2 different markets. I mean, the distribution is different. I'm assuming the customer could be different as well, because you don't necessarily have to have a problem to use the mirror, right?
Right. I think the mirror is a tool that allows us some conversation and speaking to these everyday needs that women have, but you don't necessarily have to have a problem. You're absolutely right. And I think when it comes to postpartum, we can get a 7x return on our marketing. People are looking for solutions with postpartum. You're looking at what to put in your diaper bag. But when you have centuries of women just kind of dealing with issues, some of the words that I said in the beginning, endometriosis, fibroid cysts, even when we started this company, we didn't know that language. So as women in general, we don't have the tools, we don't have the language. The mirror allows a tool for kind of creating that benchmark. So let's first know our bodies, and then we have to have our content and our resources, and we're leveraging a huge growing network of industry professionals because we need doulas and midwives and OBGYNs also talking and giving resources. And I think that opens up, it's a curve for us. That's going to be a reason why we need to put a lot more effort towards marketing when we start talking to women in menopause, as well as talking to women that are going through puberty for the first time. And that is allowing for a lot of opportunity there, but of course is going to be a hurdle.
So you talked about your average order size to be $100. So clearly they're buying more than one item, unless you have some unmentionables that have cost $100, which I don't think makes sense. So it's all about customer acquisition, Eden. That's what I really want to focus on here, because you have multiple channels. You have the midwife channel, you've got the profession, you've got B2B, you got B2C. With this money you're raising, what's the magic? You know, I like to look at customer acquisition when I invest in deals, particularly something as vertical as this. You know who your audience is, but it's always hard to find them. And so what do you think your customer acquisition costs are, and where are you going to pour the gasoline of that funding on? What's the fastest way to acquire more customers for you?
Right. I think there's more than one opportunity here. So on the D2C side, the reason why it's a AOV of $100 is because people are pairing the care items with the wear. And that's on purpose. We knew that that's a small window in, let's say, the postpartum, if we take that segment, that's a small window of time that can be 3 months to a year when someone's going through the 4th trimester. So making sure they have all the tools that they need, but that we're meeting them then. So they're stepping out with us when they get their period, when they go through perimenopause, when they're coming back to these other realities. But some folks are not even going to go through a 4th trimester. So we need to be thinking about how we're reaching them and when we're reaching them and get in front of them in the right spot. One of those ways is talking to the people they rely on, their industry professionals. So we just launched a pro portal. We're marketing a very different way to the OBGYNs and the birthing centers and the doulas and the yoga studios that we invite to bring in products to their space. We're considering this non-traditional retail. Of course, we're marketing different to the Pea in the Pod and to the CVS and some of the products that we're offering for their portfolio. And then for our D2C, our e-commerce customers, right now for postpartum, it can be a $20 to $23 cap, but we are then increasing how much that we're selling to them. And I don't mean to make it crass just about selling, because a lot of it is around content and resources as well. And so we might meet them in that postpartum space, and then our return rate is very high, as well as women tell other women about recommendations. And that's when we're not getting our information from an industry professional, we're getting it from each other. And so we've noticed registries, our loyalty program, all of that is just kicking off now, where we need to put a lot of these funds towards building. And those are going to do a lot of the legwork for us as well.
Last question.
Where are you manufacturing? Because obviously making mirrors is different than making wearables.
Totally. That was a fun, you should have thought of that when we started. There's an aggressive portfolio, but we create our mirrors. Anything that we have the patents on and that we've designed ourselves, we keep very local. So our mirrors are made in the Midwest because we need to be able to design quickly. Some items like our other wearables are made in Pennsylvania, an all-female owned facility. We needed that shared empathy so that we could design against what we were creating.
You've been granted a patent on the mirror? Is it granted?
No, the 2 patents that we've been granted already are forthware. Our mirror is still provisional or still waiting for the grant. And that is a design, not utility patent for the mirror.
How are you managing a relationship like CVS? Do you have a distributor involved? Because you're a small company, no. They're a giant behemoth. You're talking about 1,000 stores plus. How are you pulling that off?
Day by day. It's we're learning a lot. We're not going through a distributor. So right now they brought in one of our items from the portfolio for the 1,100 stores, and then they brought in 6 items for a test market on the East Coast. Well-being is new to them. They never had postpartum and they never had maternity items. So we worked with them a lot on where we thought that the display should look and some of the marketing efforts. They've been really great to work with, but we're being very, very conscientious. We would not take on another mass retailer for several months. We need to know that we can scale and that our D2C side would not suffer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eden.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to do a quick reset for anyone who is just joining us. This is StartEngine's Shark Pitch with Mr. Wonderful. Also want to do a quick thank you to all of our partners, Brex, Plug and Play, and TriNet, who have really been amazing here. We have a special treat for everybody watching. So if you follow Kevin on Instagram and across his social channels, you might have seen some photos of him in a jetpack. We are going to share StartEngine's new video featuring Mr. Wonderful flying. So if we could cue up the video.
Now it's your chance to invest like I do in companies that make things like this jetpack, this hard seltzer, and this electric motorbike. It's all on StartEngine, which has an investor community of over 500,000 and has funded innovative startups. Go to startengine.com today and start investing. Sorry, got a jet. That is the first time I've seen that, and I love it. What a good-looking guy. What a good-looking guy. That's fantastic.
I mean, you were really in the air. There were no wires there. That was a
that was really something
indoor
else.
jetpack. And I do want to say a jetpack actually raised money on StartEngine. So all of those products, they weren't just random products we chose. Those were actual raises. People invested in those companies. So just a little bit of a slice of what StartEngine has to offer. And we may be posting some more behind the scenes making of that video coming soon. Okay, so let's get to our fourth pitch. This is Abby by GoGoTech. John, please unmute your mic and turn on your camera. John is the CEO of Abby by GoGoTech. Abby is his third startup and the second aiming to disrupt a huge but deeply flawed industry. Please welcome John.
Hey, everyone. And Kevin, it's an honor to be here and a pleasure to introduce Abby. Abby is a new lightweight, portable, personal electric vehicle that's not only safe and advanced, but surprisingly affordable. And that's a key point. So using wheelchairs since 1985 has taught me that very few people have the strength to use a manual wheelchair independently. And motorized wheelchairs are heavy, expensive, quite outdated, and in extremely short supply. And the effects of this are sadly that most of the 500 million elderly and others with reduced mobility who can use wheelchairs, and 80 million people living with disabilities who must have a wheelchair, probably never will own a motorized wheelchair. Why? Because the $7 billion industry producing them manufactured 6.5 million last year, for example, manual chairs, and barely 1 million motorized wheelchairs. So despite the huge market on the left, the industry's strategy to monetize this scarcity is why the world needs Abby. In an inclusive society, powered mobility really can't remain a privilege for only the wealthy and the well-insured. And today's brushless motors and lithium batteries really make it impossible to justify manual wheelchair production beyond maybe wheelchair sports and patient transfer applications in a hospital. So if not for that strategy by the industry, motorized wheelchairs would be an exponentially growing mass market EV category, just like bikes, cars, skateboards, and scooters. And that's why we spent 3 years and about $1 million bootstrapping to engineer safety, performance, and a set of groundbreaking advanced features, each specifically targeting gaps in the existing products. And while all these features are disruptive, it's the connectivity, the IoT, that makes Abby a platform, not just a better, more affordable electric wheelchair. And that means that Abby's entering the market with feature and price advantages for the largest possible set of customers in almost every existing wheelchair category, and doing so for less than half the price of the closest competitor. Features are not enough, however. It's the business model that needs to be disrupted. So the industry strategy I mentioned to intentionally underproduce outdated and overpriced medical devices that are sold B2B to third-party payers, only then to be rationed by insurance to a tiny fraction of the addressable market. That's the core problem. So we're doing exactly the opposite. We're mass producing personal electric vehicles, not medical devices, using the same technology found in every other category of electric vehicle and selling online direct B2C to customers for less than $3,000. We got traction instantly, and with a single Facebook campaign in a few short weeks, quickly pre-sold our entire 50-unit first production run and generated a wait list of over 1,000 subscribers, proving to us that people are willing to pay out of pocket for Abby and that they're hungry for new and better products. Our base plan ships 50,000 Abbeys over 5 years and scales. Gross margins approach 70% with 25% EBITDA on sales of 85 million in year 5. And that's just a tiny fraction of market penetration. But best of all, with over a third of our first year target pre-sold, which we are now in production to fill those pre-orders. They'll be done in December, and we're going to start onboarding customers in Q1. So bottom line, Abby is a launch-ready seed deal with a fantastic ROI, even as a purely hardware business, plus huge upside potential in software. Thank you. That's it.
John, let's go right to the business model, because basically you're telling me that you're going to bypass the benefit of insurance. Now, I understand you're saying it's a supply, but the existing system when you're immobile is that you can get insurance to pay for your device. That's sort of the model, right? You're saying we're not
So
even
just think of the fraction of the world. Yes. So in a developed economy, but you know, if you think about it in the fraction of users, so that's like really part of what needs to be disrupted. A tiny fraction of the people who need and can benefit from these products actually are even in the market if you define the market that way. And that's really what we want to solve.
You're doing a bit of a disruptive thinking here. You're saying,
Exactly.
okay, that model is already underserved. It was not
And
doing
broken.
overserved, but underserving simultaneously. I'm just going to bypass the whole thing.
Correct.
I'm going to sell direct B2C.
Correct.
So the
And
model,
for a fraction of the price, right? So this all came about. I've used wheelchairs for 35 years, but I was helping a friend 4 years ago shop for a powered wheelchair costing between $10,000 and $20,000. And I just watched him locked in battle with his insurance. Like, it was insane. And I realized that in addition to my personal circumstance, I knew that I was looking at an opportunity hiding in plain sight. And then when we did our market test campaigns and like pre-sold our 50 units for $2,000 each in a few short weeks, I knew.
So should I compare you in terms of customer acquisition costs to somebody bringing a better electric bicycle to the market? Because that might be a use case.
Minus the bike stores. Yeah. So so that B2B, that healthcare model is even higher cost than maybe bikes, so retail shops are really not going to be part of it. So when we have time, hopefully I can show you everything is quick release, disassembles, folds up without tools. So this is
you're not going to use, I'm not going to be able to go somewhere to try this thing. I'm going to look at your video. You're going to send me whatever it is on whatever support group. I mean, what I hear from your claim regarding traction when you brought it out on Facebook is that the motivation to purchase one of these, if you have the need, is extremely high.
Extremely high.
Now, I noticed in one of your slides, you said that you were going to provide financing as well. How are you going to fund that? How are you going to finance?
Yeah, so we bootstrapped everything up to first production. And so depending on the size of the seed round, we'd really like to push on $100 a month financing. So we'd like to take a deposit for cost of, a little bit in excess of our cost of goods, and then offer an 18-month, $100 a month. And that can be pay as you go. But I'd certainly love to partner with a consumer finance provider. There's so many, this is actually a good social benefit story, as well as a great opportunity for something that's really critical in people's lives.
And who do you regard as your competition?
So there's actually a flagship product. There's a $6,000 to $7,000 product that we are in a way emulating, but better than, called Alber. Alber, it's a German company. It was acquired by Invacare, the billion-dollar category leader, and basically, we're selling for about a third of their price, something that's better.
Really interesting story, John. I love the idea of disrupting the distribution channel. That is an ass-kicking idea. Really interesting.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, John. Okay, we have our final presentation, and it is Whiskers. Kyle, please unmute your mic and turn on your camera. Kyle Groth is the CEO and co-founder of Whiskers. He is a serial entrepreneur with experience in lifestyle brands, spirits and alcohol, and apparel. Please welcome Kyle.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. I am excited to show you guys Whiskers. Let me share my screen here. So I'm willing to bet you can't remember the last time somebody complimented you on your shoelaces, or better yet, the last time you thought about your shoelaces. We're Whiskers, we're here to change that. Whiskers is a premium shoelace and accessories company, transforming an essential yet overlooked item of the wardrobe into a playful, subtle, stylish form of self-expression. We're doing to laces what companies like Stance, Bombas, Happy Socks did to the sock category 10 years ago. After being fascinated with the sock category and the sock revolution and watching that category go from the black, white, mainly commodity-driven category to what it is today, we identified a white space and we launched Whiskers in 2018. We're currently focused in the United States, and we exist in the massive global footwear ecosystem. We very specifically launched dress shoelaces to start, knowing that dress shoes was the smallest category in footwear at just 6%, but it allowed us to, one, prove the business model, establish the brand as a premium brand, get some learnings under our belt, and really hit on the consumer trends that we were seeing. Since then, in that small category, we've been able to achieve over $1 million in annual revenue. We've sold over 200,000 pairs of shoelaces, and half of the time we've been around has been during the pandemic, at a time where people were hardly wearing shoes, let alone dress shoes. We do have a solid US-based supply chain and fulfillment. We have a very active and loyal customer list, both on email and social. We sit at about a 31% repeat purchase rate and have margins over 70%. All of our laces are made in the United States out of sustainable materials. They're all sold at $14.99 per pair, and we're just over 100 colorways to date. We are 95% sold online. We do expect that'll change. We did secure a partnership with backcountry.com, and we're in conversations with several others in the wholesale world for 2022. And we will be launching a subscription service in the coming months. We have a smart team, myself coming from the brand building background, Mike Gossett, who's spent over 25 years in the footwear industry, coming from Nike and Crocs. And we have some brilliant minds advising us to help us get to that next phase of growth. And a few of them you can see below. What really sets us apart is we look at laces the way Nike looks at shoes. We're constantly releasing new colorways. We're using a broad spectrum of color, limited releases, collaborations. And really our main goal is when we release a shoelace, it has a purpose in your closet. And that's our goal, is to own the closet. If you have a pair of shoes with laces in your closet, we want to be the shoelaces in those shoes. Two things we do differently. We use color as a weapon, continuing to release new patterns, new designs, new sublimated laces, as well as we're innovating with material. So we have a very exciting material innovation roadmap in front of us to improve both our sustainability, durability, and performance in athletics, and really think about the category in a way that hasn't been thought about in centuries. We did see a very successful sock test as a complementary offering to our laces and the power that that has on customer lifetime value. And we will continue to build out the sock collection as a complementary offering to our laces. We've built a foundation. We're in a great position to scale and really become the go-to shoelace brand in the US and eventually globally, and really become the next it accessory. Thank you.
Wow. Well, listen, right out of the gate, I got to ask you about customer acquisition costs, because I mean, I get it. I see what you've done. And everybody has a pair of shoes in their closet that has laces on it. So let's just start. How have you been able to acquire customers? How did you do that? And do you know your customer acquisition cost, and do you know the lifetime value of the customer?
I do. And it's largely, to date, it's largely dress shoelace customers. So it costs us about $22 to acquire a customer. Our lifetime value is about $45. We do anticipate those metrics will improve, especially as we get into the much larger sneaker world and some of the material innovation we have in place. To date, it's been traditional channels as well as word of mouth. So kind of the paid social, just getting content out there and educating consumers both on why laces and why Whiskers.
Do you have a social media team internally, or are you hiring that out?
No, it's all internal. I run our social media.
Okay. Your manufacturing of these laces, is it done stateside or is it in Asia?
It's stateside. So we found a great partner in North Carolina that we actually transitioned over to in 2019. We began out in Taiwan, and then We met this factory in North Carolina that is really investing behind the brand, willing to invest in innovation, has cut down our working capital needs, reduced our lead times, and just allowed us to innovate on the roadmap that we wanted to.
So can you scale that supply chain if you keep it domestic?
We can, yes. It's with a factory that's been producing shoelaces for over 100 years, and the capacity is not an issue.
You talked to me about the sock business. So the margins on the socks, which is a brutally competitive space, the same as the laces?
Yes, our margins are the same, and our goal is not to push all in on the sock category and fight the 1,000 sock competitors out there, but rather is really mobilize our consumer set and our diehard shoelace customers with complementary laces so that they can create this synchronized footwear ecosystem.
So your claim, the hook there is that if I love the laces, I want to be a little hipper by matching it to the socks so people can see my style.
Exactly.
They're seeing what I'm doing there. Now, I get it, but in the sock category, there's a lot of different ways to make a sock in terms of pricing. How much nylon versus cotton, all the rest of that. Can I get a premium sock from you, or is it all one size fits all, or how does it work?
So our initial sock release was just one sock offering. We really wanted to test our thesis that we could mobilize our consumers and they would be excited about complementary socks. It is a premium sock. It's made in North Carolina as well. Our margins on socks are about 60%. And that's part of our product roadmap as we continue to build the core and laces, is also expand that sock offering so that we have more than just one offering right now.
Last question.
All right. Have you been using influencers to get this word out? And have you paid them a lot? Have you done this all word of mouth?
To date, it's been all word of mouth. Part of our plan, especially as we go into the sneaker world, is to expand on that partnership collaboration side of things as well.
Really interesting. Really interesting. Boy, Joanna, this set of deals is really going to be tough to judge because there's a lot of good stuff here.
I know. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you.
I was going to say, we could not have more different companies. We have almost something in every different type of industry. No company is really like the other.
No, you're right. And I really like the disruptive nature of some of these companies. It says, screw what's out there already. I'm just going to do my own thing, you know, including an ancient business like shoelaces. I mean, that's really something.
I know. So
Yeah.
I just want to mention, everyone probably saw a pop-up that is for the crowd favorite. So as Kevin goes through his own deliberation and before he announces it, you will have the opportunity to vote for your favorite company, and that company will get $5,000. But Kevin, okay, I want to hear from you. What are you considering? What do you think about each of these companies?
So, you know, I've done a deep dive into what predictive is doing in DNA. That is the future of healthcare. There's no question about it. A really interesting business. Customer acquisition has proven to be the big challenge there. I'm very familiar with the management of 23andMe. I know a lot about that business model. And also Jayan, he mentioned in his slide, he's a friend of mine. So I've gone down that road quite a bit. I like that deal. And I loved it because it was first. I always like that. But then I saw Hugo, and he is in the hottest space in business right now, in enterprise.
Yeah.
He's in a smoking hot space. And every question I asked him, he had an answer. I mean, very impressive dude.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. You know, Eden and her unmentionables, I mean, I loved it. I just loved it because she said, look, this is a really tough space to even talk about, but I'm just going to forget about all that. I'm going right after the market. And there's no question there's a demand.
Mm-hmm.
The wheelchair from Abby, you know, that came in with John, I loved this is a huge problem for me, Joanna. How am I going to pick a winner here? They're all winners.
I don't know. And we only have a couple of minutes to do it. The crowd is going through the exact same thing.
And I love whiskers. I love whiskers. Okay. You want me to make my call now?
Okay, before we announce the winner, I just want to do one final reminder of what is at stake. So the first place winner is going to get $25,000. They're going to get a one-on-one with StartEngine CEO Howard Marks and services from our partners, including Plug and Play's onboarding, mentorship sessions with Plug and Play's venture partners, 6 months of desk space at Plug and Play in Sunnyvale, a 50,000 point sign-up bonus and priority onboarding from Brex, and a 50% discount from TriNet service fees. So this is what's at stake for this winner. Kevin, are you ready to introduce the winner?
I am, and it's with a heavy heart because they're all investable. They're all investable. In previous rounds, you know, there was a couple of great ones and then some weak
Yeah.
ones. There's no weakness in this mix.
That's what we're trying to do. We want to make your job as hard as possible.
No, you're making me miserable. Every one of these companies is investable for various reasons, but I got to give it to Hugo at Arthread because I mean, he is going to be very successful. I mean, it makes so much sense what he's doing.
Amazing.
But it's breaking my heart because I love whiskers. I mean, what am I going to do here?
Well,
Like-
first, Hugo, if you want to unmute your mic and say a quick thank you, you are officially this Shark Pitch's winner. Yeah.
Ah,
Hugo.
yes.
Good work. And
Thank you.
I was not, when you started, you were not my guy, but you did a hell of a good job, which shows you how important presentation skills are for all of you listening. You have to be able to take the questions and answer them with no ambiguity. You've got to be great. You've got to be absolutely terrific. You got to be precise. And Hugo did it.
Great feedback, Kevin.
ambiguity.
Joanna,
ambiguity.
thank you. And then you touch on it, like it's a very tough market, but it's a very important market. I think what we're trying to, our vision has always been laser focused on what we're trying to accomplish. And you know, being humble, and I think we believe on this project since day one.
No,
Amazing.
So get
amazing
out there
job.
and kick some ass. Get out there and kick some ass, Hugo. You
Trying
can.
to, and we will. But thank you. Thanks. That's great. Thank you, Kevin. And then thank you, everyone. Good presentations, everyone. Like I think I'm with you. Great job on everyone's presentation, and thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Hugo. And so, Kevin, that was the first place winner, but we also have the crowd favorite. And as we know, the crowd does not always.
Yes.
So
shape
I want to announce the crowd favorite, which is Abby by GoGo Tech. So huge congratulations to Abby by GoGo Tech, amazing company. And again, for anyone who is watching and is like, this is incredible, all of these startups, how can I do more of this? Go to StartEngine.com. You have the chance to browse hundreds of companies. You can ask all of these questions directly to the founders themselves, and definitely tune in to our future Shark Pitches. I think that is it. Thank you so much, Kevin, and thank you for all the
Congratulations, everybody.
presentations.
Joanna,
Thank you very much.
You're making my life miserable. These deals
I
are
try.
getting harder and harder to pick. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and also for anyone who's watching and is like, I would love to do this, you can apply to pitch the next Shark Pitch, which is going to be next quarter. So again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and thank you so much to all of our presenters.
Ciao. Thank you.